What is going on, wedding community? Today's episode is not actually a full episode, more of just an announcement of everything that's going on with the podcast. So when I started the Wedding Community podcast, my goal was to get to 10 episodes, 1 episode a week. Well, I've actually been able to pass that goal up as we're at 12 episodes so far, and we haven't missed a single week. Through this process, we have been experimenting with where to put the podcast. So far, we have found iTunes, YouTube, and our website, surprisingly, are the main places people are going to watch or download the podcast. But I want to make sure that we're not missing anyone, and we want to make it as easy as possible for you to download it. So if there's a platform that you use that you can't find the podcast on, please let me know so we can get on there. When I look at the stats of the podcast and who's downloading it and where they're downloading it from, as you can guess, a majority of people are in the United States. But what blew my mind is that we are building a small community inside of the UK. We've actually had maybe about 10% of our downloads are coming from other countries, and a majority of those are in the UK, which is kind of mind-blowing to me. I never expected to be growing an audience in a different country, let alone in the United States. So that's been really cool to see. I just wanted to ask that if you do get the chance, I would greatly appreciate it if you could leave some positive feedback on our iTunes page. Those reviews on the iTunes page help us get in front of other wedding business owners just like yourself. Okay, so we are a few months into the podcast. So what's next? When I started this podcast, it was the middle of winter, which for myself is one of the slowest times of the year. So I had plenty of time to sit down with others and to do interviews, create new episodes, get the branding going, all of that kind of stuff. Well, now we're in May, which is kind of the start of the busy season for myself, and I know it is for a lot of other wedding business owners too. So just being able to find time to sync up with others is becoming a lot more challenging than it was back in February or March. Even with the help of my editor, Chris, I know that I am not going to have the capacity to be able to still put out a new episode every week during the wedding season. This wedding season in particular is going to be very busy for us with so many reschedules coming from 2020 into 2021, plus all the new couples. And on top of that, my wife and I are expecting our first child in August. So it's going to be a super fun time, but it's also going to be very crazy. So with all of that in mind, I have decided to shift the podcast to bi-weekly. This means that every other week there will be a new episode. Next week will be our first episode on this new timeline. With only having to post an episode every other week, I hope to use that extra time to focus on my own wedding business, to focus on things in my personal life, and to be able to do other forms of educational content. As much as I love doing the podcast and it has been very exciting for me, I know there's other forms of educational content that I could put out there that would be beneficial to others. And I want to be able to start working on that more. I have some really awesome episode ideas in mind, but I am always open to suggestions. So if there is a topic that you would love for us to cover or a guest you would love to see on the podcast, please let me know. You can either DM me on Instagram, it's at TRHEBERLING, or you can DM the Wedding Community Podcast profile, which is at Wed Community Pod. You could also hop over into our Facebook group and leave a suggestion there on what you would like to see or who you would like to see on the podcast. Thanks again for listening to this podcast. And I'm so excited that you're with me on this journey. Let's keep growing the wedding industry. And until next time, I'll see ya.